Namaskar and welcome to Midday Prime on DD News and DD India. My name is Mark Lin. In the next 1 hour, we are going to focus our lens on the evaluation criteria for Class 12 students who have not been able to do their board exams this year because of COVID. Also, the steady progress that our country is making in the fight against this pandemic. Now, these stories and also stories from across the world and from the world of business and sports, and time permitting, even from the world of art and culture. But first, the big news at this hour. The Central Board of Secondary Education and Council for Indian School Certificate Examinations has submitted the Class 12 evaluation criteria to the Supreme Court. The Attorney General says that the students who would not be satisfied with the results and the grading system, they can take a physical examination after the situation is normalized. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh inaugurates 12 projects of the Border Roads Organization in Ladakh, Arunachal and Jammu and Kashmir from Lakhimpur in Assam, where he opened the Kimin-Poten Road. The Kimin-Poten Road will link the central Arunachal with the National Highway 15. The Defence Minister hails the BRO for the improved infrastructure and connectivity on borders with China. India's progress further in the war against COVID. Active caseload declines to 8.26 lakhs, the lowest in 71 days. The number of people recovering from the disease outnumbers new infections for the 35th straight day. Over 26.5 crore doses of the vaccine have been administered so far. CBI files a new charge sheet against Mehul Choksi and 20 others in the PNB scam case. For the first time, the CBI has added destruction of evidence to the list of offences against Choksi. In international news, the US President Joe Biden and the Russian President Vladimir Putin have held their first meeting since Biden has taken office. And Biden describes this meeting as good and positive and says that his agenda is for the American people and not against Russia or anyone else. And Putin calls this meeting very constructive and says that they've agreed to begin consultations on cybersecurity issues, adding that their respective ambassadors will return to their posts. In sports, India will take on New Zealand in the ICC Test World Cup final at the Rose Bowl Cricket Stadium in England tomorrow. The match will be telecast live on DD Sports on DD Free Dish, DTH. DD Free Dish users can also listen to the live radio commentary, in fact, on All India Radio across the country. 3 matches in the Euro 2020 today. Group B topper Belgium to face Denmark in Copenhagen, and in Group C, Ukraine will take on North Macedonia, while Austria will lock horns with Netherlands in Amsterdam. So that's the big news, but let's begin with the big story. Well, the Central Board of Secondary Education, the CBSE, has submitted before the Supreme Court its evaluation criteria for awarding grades and marks for the Class 12 exams. The 13-member committee has finalized the objective evaluation criteria. The evaluation criterion for Class 12 students will be factored on performances of Class 10, Class 11 and Class 12. And for evaluating a student, marks in the best of 3 papers of Class 10 would be given 30% weightage in Class 11 final results and 40% weightage to the results of the 12th pre-board examinations. The Attorney General said that the students who are not satisfied with these marks or the grading system can do better or improve their marks by appearing in the physical examinations as the COVID situation gets better, or as the situation normalizes, or as the institutions think. Now, the results through the grading system will be announced by the 31st of July. Meanwhile, the CBSE has allowed schools to complete the practical exams in online mode. Students who were unable to appear for the practical exams due to COVID-19, the second wave, will have the opportunity of taking these exams from home. The schools have to conduct the pending tests and submit the marks by the 28th of June. The external examiner will fix the date for an online viva voce, and this will be in consultation with an internal examiner. And Vikas Sarthi now joins us with more inputs on the submission to the Supreme Court. Well, Vikas, so this is what the Attorney General has put before the Supreme Court, and the interesting thing is that it's the students are given a choice, if they are not satisfied, to appear for the exams again. But overall, what has the Supreme Court said?
Well, Mark, the Supreme Court has accepted all the recommendations given by the CBSE and excuse me, and ICSE, except one thing, that Supreme Court wants a strong redressal system as well. Excuse me. The Supreme Court was of the opinion that any students who is not happy with this grading system or the marks given under this evaluation, there must be a strong redressal system as well. Apart from it, court was of the opinion that CBSE is now free to go ahead with this policy, and CBSE can notify this. The CBSE today gave its proposal to the Supreme Court, and this decision is yet to be notified by the board.
Okay.
The idea behind this policy is to encourage those students who have performed consistently for last 3 classes.
That's right.
ICSE was also of the same opinion, but ICSE has said that instead of last 3 classes, it will consider performance in last 6 classes. So performance from class 6 till 12th board examinations will be taken into account by the ICSE.
Okay.
Again, so Supreme Court will hear this.
They're looking at the evaluation over a longer period, but you know that a child's life is full of ups and downs, and children, they're talking about consistency in performance right from the 6th to the 12th standard is a pretty hard ask. But the point is that even the 11th standard, which is 1 class before the 12th, students tend to take it a little lightly because it's 1 year before they prepare for the boards. So, all these concerns would be on the students' minds.
Right, Mark. There are 2 ways to looking at it. In fact, again, then you will have to find out which student has performed good or could have performed better in board examination. So, advantage should be for those students who have been studying consistently for past several years. You cannot give equal marks to everybody because of this pandemic. Finally, it's the 12th board examinations, and on the basis of the marks in 10th, 11th and 12th, not only 1 class. That is why the upper weightage has been given to pre-board examinations in 12th class. 40% marks will be given on the basis of performance in 12th internal examinations or pre-board examinations, and 30% marks will be given on the basis of performance in 10th and 11th. Well, it was an expert committee which has come with this solution, and Supreme Court in principle has accepted these recommendations. So it is very likely that the policy will be notified as it has been given to the Supreme Court. The additional thing will be what will be the redressal system. Like court has said that you must give an opportunity to those students who want to perform again in a physical examination. So that option is still available for those students who thinks that they might not get proper marks or proper grading on the basis of their past performance in 11th class.
Thanks very much, Vikas Sarthi. On the face of it, it certainly looks like a very fair criterion for the selection of marks for the 12th standard examinations, because the students are not able to do their boards this year. Now let's move on to our developing story. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh today said that development has eluded the northeastern part of the country for a long time, but the way it is now being undertaken under the leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi is commendable. He said that after inaugurating 12 road projects in the northeast, and these include the Kimen-Porton Road in Assam's Lakhimpur district. He did so today. The double-lane Kimen-Porton 20-kilometer road is constructed by the Border Roads Organization. It will facilitate the establishment of the proposed industrial belt in Arunachal Pradesh. The road will also serve as the main artery. This is for the local Subansiri district from Assam. Rajnath Singh also asserted that the northeast shares borders with many countries, and thus the construction of these roads will greatly benefit the locals over there.
जो प्रोजेक्ट्स बने हैं इसमें जैसा मैंने कहा विकास तो होगा ही, लेकिन सुरक्षा की दृष्टि से भी इन सड़कों का एक बहुत बड़ा महत्व है। भारत का जहां तक प्रश्न है इसमें कहीं दो मत नहीं है। हम तो शांति के पुजारी हैं, हम तो शांति चाहते हैं। हमने कभी एग्रेशन भारत की तरफ से कहीं भी नहीं होने दिया है दुनिया के किसी देश के साथ, चाहे हमारे पड़ोसी हो चाहे कोई भी हो। एग्रेशन हमने कभी नहीं दिखाया है, लेकिन भारत के अंदर वह कुवत है कि यदि कोई एग्रेशन दिखाएगा तो हम उसका मुंहतोड़ जवाब देना भी जानते हैं। यह भारत की हमारी यह ताकत भी है।
The Defence Minister praised work done by the BRO during the last 7 years, saying that its budget to develop road projects and other infrastructure has been increased by almost 3 to 4 times.
जो हम विकास कर रहे हैं नॉर्थ ईस्ट रीजन का, मैं समझता हूं कि ये बहुत सारी समस्याओं का समाधान जो इस नॉर्थ ईस्ट रीजन की करने में हमको कामयाबी हासिल होगी। लेकिन जो सड़कों का निर्माण बॉर्डर रोड ऑर्गेनाइजेशन ने किया है, मैं बॉर्डर रोड ऑर्गेनाइजेशन की अद्भुत क्षमता की तहे दिल से मैं प्रशंसा करता हूं।
Well, a year has passed since the clash in Galwan. It happened 2 days ago. In fact, a year has passed. And Rajnath Singh remembered the martyrs. He hailed the Indian Army's valor and courage.
गलवान घाटी की घटना हुई है, लेकिन हमारे जवानों ने जिस शौर्य और पराक्रम का परिचय देते हुए अपनी शहादत दी है और भारत की सीमाओं की रक्षा की है, उसकी जितने भी प्रशंसा की जाए कम है। आज अपनी शहादत देने वाले ऐसे सारे वीर जवानों की स्मृति को मैं नमन करता हूं।
And our correspondents now join us. Mridhu Smita is joining us from the ground in Guwahati, and Nandita Dagar is joining us from the newsroom. Mridhu Smita, let me come to you first. So the messages for the entire Northeast, you know, all these places, because the Northeast shares international borders, the importance of building roads in those regions is extremely important, and a clear message being sent by the Defence Minister.
Yes, Mark, of course, because since this BJP government came to power, they have always stressed upon the development of the infrastructures, basically the highways, and they have given a priority on this basis. And if we talk about the Loop East policy, because of which the roads plays a very important role. And with this inauguration of the 12 roads, and especially as these roads are on the boundaries of Arunachal Pradesh and Assam border, so it plays a very important role in that case, because as Northeast connects the South Asian countries, as well as this government also keeps stressing upon that the market is the South Asian countries in the future, for which developmental work for this infrastructure of the roads and highways is stressed upon. So this is a very positive note on which, and yes, because the Defence Minister, he himself has inaugurated this road, that also plays a very crucial role, because this border road, it is connecting the China. So because there is always a threatening part from that country, so because this step will also enhance that, it sends a message that India is well prepared in any sort of untoward incidents from that country, and we are like the Indian country is India is well prepared in that case, Mark.
Yes, indeed, Mridhu Smita talking about the Cumin-Porton road. But let me ask Nandita Dagar about the entire project, because, you know, there are several projects that the Defence Minister spoke about today. Nandita, you know, fill us in with the overall, the bigger picture with regard to all these projects.
Yes, hi Mark, good to speak to you. Actually, I'll just add to what Mridu Smita has said about the Kimin-Potin road. The Kimin-Potin road is very, very vital, and I'll come to the other projects also, Mark. The Kimin-Potin road will connect the Papumpare, Lower Subansiri and Upper Subansiri districts and other districts of central Arunachal Pradesh to the industrial belt which is coming up in Arunachal Pradesh, and also to the National Highway 15. So to mobilize the troops and logistics to the borders in quickly, as well as to boost the industrial and economic situation and to cause the progress of the people in these far-flung areas, this link was very vital. This was, of course, one of the roads in Arunachal. The Defence Minister has actually launched 11 other roads virtually. Yes. Now, these 11 roads include the one road under Project Sampark in J&K, one road access in Ladakh, which is under Project Himank, and then of course there are 4 projects which are ongoing in Arunachal Pradesh called Arunank, Vartank, etc., etc. So now what is important is when you just read out what the Defence Minister said about Galwan, yes. And just remembering on the day, the very reason we have this standoff with China on our northern borders in Ladakh at the LAC is that India is feverishly and furiously building infrastructure, that is roads, bridges, tunnels. Just yes. Last year you saw our Prime Minister inaugurate the Atal Bihari Vajpayee Manali Rohtang tunnel, as well as the Sela tunnel in Tawang. So this is what is irking China. And you know, the border road, I spoke to some engineers as well as some army officers in border roads organization, and they were telling me that the Chinese army is sometimes only 700 meters from these passes, and we need to be as close as these passes right. As we can be to establish our presence and control and claim over these areas also. Mark?
Absolutely. Thanks very much, Nandita, as well as Mridu Smita, for those
Thank
inputs.
You.
Moving on then to our National Prime segment. Well, India continues to see a decline in COVID-19 cases. The country has registered 67,208 daily new cases in the last 24 hours. India's active caseload has declined to 8,26,740, and this is the lowest in 71 days. And over 2.84 crore people have recovered from the virus in the country so far. Now, out of which 1.03 lakh patients recovered in the last 24 hours itself. And with this now, the daily recoveries continue to outnumber the daily new cases for 35 straight days. Also, the recovery rate has increased to 95.93%. The WPR, or the weekly positivity rate, has continued to remain below 5%. It currently stands at 3.99%. And the DPR, which is the daily positivity rate, has remained less than 5% for 10 consecutive days. It stands at 3.48%. The testing capacity has substantially gone up. 38.52 crore tests have been conducted in the country totally so far, and 26.55 crore vaccine doses have been administered so far under the nationwide vaccination drive. So the central government continues to provide COVID vaccines through the free of cost channel and also through the direct straight procurement category to states and union territories. In total, over 27.28 crore vaccine doses have been provided to the states and union territories so far. So of these, the total consumption, which includes wastage, is around 25.10 crores or 2.18 crore COVID vaccines are still available with the states and union territories to be administered. Also, 56.70 lakh vaccine doses are in the pipeline. They're going to be received by the states and union territories in the next 3 days. Well, enhancing its vaccine drive, the local distribution partner Dr. Reddy's in a statement on Wednesday, said that the project launch of the Russian COVID vaccine Sputnik V has now been extended to 9 other cities. Initially, it was launched only in Hyderabad. The new cities where Sputnik V will be available include Bengaluru, Mumbai, Kolkata, Delhi, Chennai, Visakhapatnam, Badi, Kolhapur, and also Miryalaguda. Well, the company, Dr. Reddy's, has said in a statement that the people, they cannot register for the Russian vaccine through the CoWIN portal as yet, and that this facility will be available only when it is commercially launched. Dr. Reddy's further added that the pilot launch is in its final leg and necessary arrangements are being made to ensure the availability of both doses. Once the pilot phase is completed, Dr. Reddy's will announce the commercial launch of Sputnik V. Some news about startups and innovation. Well, an environment-friendly hand sanitizer that's gentle on the hands, as well as doesn't cause your hands to get dry. It's going to be in the markets soon. This alcohol-free, aqueous, non-flammable and non-toxic hand sanitizer has been developed by a Pune-based startup, Silver Nanoparticles. Recurrent drying of hands as well as repeated application of hand sanitizers is a challenge which people have faced during the COVID-19 pandemic. And this hand sanitizer, it prolongs the antimicrobial activity, thus obviating the need for repeated applications. Silver Nanoparticles, which is the company, it gives a slow and sustained release of sylvions that kill the microorganisms that they come in contact with. And also, besides, it can be stored in ambient conditions. So this is what the product does. It has successfully completed Central Drugs Standards Control Organization approved clinical trials and has demonstrated high efficiency in killing viruses. So a new hand sanitizer brought out by a startup. Well, Karnataka is all set to begin the second phase of unlock after June 21st. Hotel and tourism industry hopes to resume work as the industry is worst hit by the pandemic. Now the country is suffering, the tourism sector is suffering, but Karnataka Tourism Society aims to vaccinate all the staff working in hotels and the tourism industry. The vaccination drive for these workers has gained momentum in the last few days. Nearly 3,500 workers have got their first dose. Karnataka Tourism Society hopes to target over 1 lakh of employees during this period of time, and these are those who are working in hotels. The staff working in these hotels are at a bigger risk, and the vaccinations will help them to feel safer and they can continue to do their work in a better way. Well, Karnataka has aggressively started the vaccination drive among all sections of society. Over 1.70 crore doses of the vaccination have been given in the state, and per day about 3 lakh people are getting vaccinated over there. After the imposition of the 40-day COVID-19 lockdown, the Kerala government has eased restrictions from today. However, the total lockdown across the state on weekends, that's going to continue. Announcing the relaxations after assessing the state's COVID situation, the Chief Minister Pinarayi Vijayan said that shops selling essential goods will remain open across the state from 7 in the morning till 7 in the evening. This is Monday to Friday. Also, industrial and agricultural activities have been permitted in all local bodies, and the transportation facilities, they will also function because workers in these sectors are allowed to work. Public transportation has also begun from today. The adverse combined impact of COVID, cyclone Yas, as well as now heavy monsoon rains, all these have combined to trouble the fisheries business in coastal Odisha, almost bringing it to a standstill. But the Pradhan Mantri Matsya Sampada Yojana, it's become a means of providing financial help to compensate for the loss to the fisheries business over there, including the destruction of boats, and the fishermen there have been able to get jobs, provide them with jobs. Now, O.P. Yadav is our correspondent who's brought us this report.
Some of the basic sources of livelihood for people living in the coastal areas include fishing, boating and shrimp farming. However, the COVID-19 pandemic, which struck last year, followed by Cyclone Yas and heavy rain during the ongoing monsoon season, have affected the source of income of fishermen in Odisha.
15 से 20 फुट हाइट में पानी आया तो हमारा जो ट्रॉलर फिशिंग बोट जितने सारी नदी में सब एंकरेज में था उन लोग को उठा के लाके 4-4 किलोमीटर 3-3 किलोमीटर में पहुंचा दिया तो इसी के चलते हुए अभी हमारा बोट के रेस्क्यू करके वापस पानी में जाए.
The situation is dire since boating and fishing have stopped in the region after the severe cyclone. In the fisheries department, account books have either washed away in rains and winds or are left unclaimed. There is uncanny silence in the fishermen's colony.
एक बोट का लगभग जितना मतलब 30% 40% तो फुल डैमेज है और एक बोट तो 75% पूरा डैमेज हो गया है.
These fishermen, who are facing the pain of loss post the devastation caused by Cyclone Yas, are now hoping to get help from the Pradhan Mantri Matsya Sampada Yojana.
We are observing, we are assessing. We have already sent our personnel for assessment. The persons who are interested for digging new tanks, they will avail this opportunity.
The Pradhan Mantri Matsya Sampada Yojana will be of great help to bring back the lives of these fishermen back on track. O.P. Yadav's report from Chandipur coastal area of Odisha for DD India.
You're watching Midday Prime. We're going to take a short break. Stay with us.
घर की सारी चीजें महंगी हो जरूरी है, उम्दा हो बहुत जरूरी है, लेकिन घर का जो सीमेंट है ना वो बहुत उम्दा होना चाहिए. जैसे वंडर सीमेंट, भाई उसकी क्वालिटी और टेक्नोलॉजी के चर्चे हैं वर्ल्ड में.
आप हमारे और कॉन्ट्रैक्ट ले लीजिए.
मैं कॉन्ट्रैक्टर नहीं वकील हूँ.
वंडर सीमेंट, जब भी आए भला कर जाए.
चलो 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 टेक अ ब्रेक, चलो वहाँ हर बाइट में रियल मिल गया जहाँ. चलो 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 Let's all go for an Amul ice cream. चलो 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 मन किया कुल्फी खाना है, दिल को जो बहलाना है. Let's all go for an Amul ice cream. Chocolate, Rajbhog, dry fruits, mango. Go, go, go. Let's all go for an Amul ice cream. Real milk, real ice cream.
Well, the World Day to combat desertification and drought is being observed today. Its purpose is to raise awareness on the presence of desertification, also drought, highlighting methods of preventing it and also recovering from drought. So amid the coronavirus pandemic, the theme for this year is restoration, land and recovery. And we build back better with healthy land. These are the themes. The events and the campaign run by the UN this year will focus on how the personal impact of desertification can be reduced worldwide. On the occasion, the Environment Minister, Prakash Javadekar, has tweeted, India is on track to achieve the target of land degradation neutrality set by Prime Minister Narendra Modi. India will restore 26 million hectares of degraded land by 2030. And R.K. Singh, the Union Power Minister, also reviewed the progress of energy transition and energy efficiency measures in the context of climate change at a high-level meeting. During this meeting, the Union Minister, R.K. Singh, said that the committee or group, it's going to be set up having members from all relevant ministries for implementation of a roadmap on energy efficiency and low-carbon technologies. R.K. Singh asked the ministries to keep a focus on sectors with the highest emissions intensity and also to ensure that wastage of energy is minimized. The minister further called for the development of low-carbon technologies on a massive scale, especially in the MSMEs, and also he pitched for aggressively pushing electric mobility. Some other news now. The National Investigation Agency arrested the Shiv Sena leader and former encounter specialist of Mumbai Police Pradeep Sharma today. This is after conducting a raid at his residence. The NIA team detained Pradeep in the wee hours in connection with the case of an explosives-laden SUV which was found near the industrialist Mukesh Ambani's residence. Sharma is believed to be the member of the former assistant police inspector in Mumbai. That Mumbai Police Sachin Waze is supposed to be part of his group. Sharma was earlier questioned at length by the agency multiple times. The NIA had arrested 2 other accused in the case on Wednesday, who will remain in custody till June 21. It's expected that these accused will be confronted by Pradeep Sharma. Meanwhile, a hearing is pending on the NIA petition in the court demanding the interrogation of the suspended police officer Vinayak Shinde, who is currently in judicial custody. Pradeep Sharma, Sachin Waze and Vinayak Shinde, they are believed to be close associates of one another. So the NIA is trying to piece together the links. Yogesh Sheetal now is joining us with more inputs on this story. Well, Yogesh, after a while, I think this has come to light once again. So, fill us in with a little bit of a background as well as what's happened today.
Coming to Pradeep Sharma, we know that he has been a controversial Mumbai cop and several times he has been also earlier he was suspended and later he also joined politics. However, he could not secure a better place, safe, comfortable zone in politics. But you can see that he's a well-known police figure in Mumbai. Now, he was also earlier questioned by the NIA and he was in the radar. But the major thing is he was not ever arrested in this particular case, and this is a major breakthrough we can see that NIA has got, and definitely NIA has some concrete evidences against him, because not only his residence was truly raided in the morning in the wee hours when he was detained early in the morning, but also his close associated, that 2 arrests also took, NIA also arrested 2 accused 2 days back. So definitely NIA was trying to gather some concrete information on the basis of which action was taken today. Now it remains to be seen that how many days custody NIA demands from the court for Pradeep Sharma, because Pradeep Sharma is definitely close to Sachin Waze, and Sachin Waze, Pradeep Sharma and Vinayak Shinde. Vinayak Shinde is currently in the judicial custody and the application for his interrogation, further interrogation is already pending before the NIA court. So if the application is granted, then NIA will be definitely confronting Pradeep Sharma to Vinayak Shinde and also other 2 accused that NIA had arrested 2 days back, because the last day of custody, 21st of June. So we may expect that for at least for 1 week custody will be sought by the NIA. Now it remains to be seen that how much custody he has been given. Apart from these, also we know that both the cases, apart from that money house security case as well as Mansukh Kiran Desh case, both cases are now clubbed and both cases are being interrogated by the NIA. So definitely NIA will try to connect all the dots that have been surfaced so far in this case. So yes. I think that once NIA deposes Pradeep Sharma in the court, more things would come in the light in the days to come.
We'll leave it there. Thank you very much, Yogesh Sheetal, for your inputs. Moving on to our next story, the Indian Coast Guard has rescued 16 people from a barge in a daredevil operation off Mumbai in the Arabian Sea. On receiving an SOS from a barge MV Mangalam, it was reported around it was brought aground off Revdanda in Mumbai today. The Coast Guard launched 2 Chetak choppers in inclement weather and rough sea conditions. The Coast Guard ship Subhadra Kumari Chauhan also sailed and rescued the 16 crew and the barge safely. Rain normally disrupted train operations. It disrupts train operations every year, in fact, in cities like Mumbai. However, the Indian Railways has formed a rail flood relief team, and they're going to provide aid to people reeling under the floods. So this report tells us how this team works.
In Mumbai, heavy rain has thrown life out of gear, affecting the operation of trains. Railways has to seek help of NDRF during rain, which itself is a time-taking process. In a bid to avoid such delays, RPF has formed Rail Flood Relief Team. The team conducted its mock drill in Thane, a suburb of Mumbai. The Director General of RPF, Arun Kumar, and GM of Central Railways, Alok Kansal, were also present.
रेलवे फ्लड रिलीफ टीम जो है वो हम लोगों ने तैयार की है सेंट्रल रेलवे में, और वहाँ पे जो है वो उनको मैकेनाइज्ड बोट और जितने भी इक्विपमेंट्स हैं वो सारा कुछ दिया गया है, और उनके लोगों को जो है अपने NDRF के साथ ट्रेन कराया है। तो पूरी टीम जो है वो उनके साथ ट्रेन हो गई है, और कल हम लोगों ने जो है वो ठाणे में GM और में हम लोगों ने उनका एक मॉक ड्रिल था, जिसमें कि हम लोगों ने ये किया कि एक ट्रेन में जो है वो बीच लेक के बीच में लोग फंसे हुए हैं, तो उनको कैसे हम रेस्क्यू करके ला रहे हैं सामान वगैरह के साथ, या मान लो कुछ लोग पैनिक में जो है वो कूद जा रहे हैं तो उनको हम कैसे रेस्क्यू कर रहे हैं, उसका पूरा हम लोगों ने बजाबते जो है मॉक ड्रिल किया, डेमो किया, मॉक ड्रिल किया है।
The Rail Flood Relief Team, trained by NDRF, will consist of 15 members who will facilitate unhindered rail service during rainy season. The team will also work to rescue people stuck in flood-affected areas. This effort of Indian Railways will surely bring a sigh of relief every year for passengers. With Bureau Inputs, Rajesh Raj's report, DD India.
Well, this is Midday Prime on DD News and DD India. It's time now to catch up with the latest from the world of business. And let's go across to Tanvi now, who's tracking all the business news for us. Over to you, Tanvi.
Thank you, Mark. Well, first in Business Prime, the US Federal Reserve or Central Bank on Wednesday brought forward its projections for the first post-pandemic interest rate hikes into 2023 and opened the debate on when and how it may be appropriate to start tapering the US Central Bank's massive bond buying program. Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell, briefing media after a two-day policy meeting, said officials started talking about tapering the central bank's $120 billion in monthly asset purchases.
We expect to maintain an accommodative stance of monetary policy until these employment and inflation outcomes are achieved. With regard to interest rates, we continue to expect that it will be appropriate to maintain the current 0 to 1/4% target range for the federal funds rate until labor market conditions have reached levels consistent with the committee's assessment of maximum employment, and inflation has risen to 2% and is on track to moderately exceed 2% for some time. As these transitory supply effects abate, inflation is expected to drop back toward our longer run goal, and the median inflation projection falls from 3.4% this year to 2.1% next year and 2.2% in 2023.
Powell declined to offer guidance on the timing for any future policy shift, emphasizing that the US Central Bank would communicate with markets and the public before making a policy shift. Policymakers now see the first rate increase coming in 2023 instead of 2024. Further, the Fed cited an improved economic outlook with overall economic growth expected to hit 7% this year. Meanwhile, over on Wall Street, the main stock indices fell on Wednesday after the US Fed statement. The new economic projection somewhat unnerved investors, with indications that the Fed is projecting interest rate hikes for 2023, which was earlier than the investor had expected. So the Dow Jones Industrial Average fell 0.8%, the S&P 500 lost 0.5%, and the Nasdaq Composite Index dropped 0.2%. Most other key Asian markets also fell on Thursday after the US Federal Reserve surprised investors by signaling that it might raise interest rate at a much faster pace than assumed, sending the dollar sharply higher. So MSCI's broadest index of Asia-Pacific shares outside Japan fell 0.5%. Japan's Nikkei 225 index lost 1%. South Korea's Kospi fell 0.4%. And Singapore's stocks also lost ground. But the Shanghai Composite Index snapped 3 straight days of losses to gain 0.2%. Back home, the domestic stock markets have ruled slightly weak so far on Thursday. So the Sensex at the BSE had declined 339 points or 0.7% to 52,163 in afternoon deals a short while ago. The Nifty at the National Stock Exchange had lost 123 points or 0.8% to 15,645. In the broader market, the BSE mid-cap index had slipped 0.8%, while the small-cap index was trading flat. The top index gainers are Ultratech Cement, Asian Paints, Shree Cements and Nestle, with gains of between 1% and 1.5%. The top index losers are Adani Ports, Tata Steel, Hero MotoCorp and Maruti Suzuki, with losses of between 1.5 and 7%. At the interbank foreign exchange market, the rupee had depreciated 33 paise against the US dollar in early trade on Thursday, amid the strengthening of the dollar overseas. Later, the rupee weakened further and had depreciated 48 paise to 73 rupees 80 paise against the dollar in afternoon trade. The US dollar surged against the rupee after the US Fed's hawkish statement overnight. Other Asian currencies also opened weaker against the greenback this Thursday for the same reason. And now updates on the Mehul Choksi case. The Central Bureau of Investigation, CBI, has filed a new charge sheet against Mehul Choksi and 20 others in the Punjab National Bank scam case. The CBI has for the first time added destruction of evidence to the list of offences that he's been accused of. In its charge sheet, the agency has claimed that Choksi faces charges of getting 165 letters of undertaking and 58 foreign letters of credit fraudulently issued in 2017 in connivance with the PNB bank officials. These were allegedly issued to Mr. Choksi's firms without any sanction limit or cash margin and without making entries in the bank's central banking system to evade any scrutiny. Union Electronics and IT Minister Ravi Shankar Prasad has said that the government gave 3 months' time to Twitter to comply with the guidelines. He added that the guidelines deal with abuse of social media and thus it is for the safety of the users.
These guidelines don't deal with the use of social media. They deal with the abuse and misuse of social media so that people can complain about their misuse when they are being defamed, when women's dignity is being compromised and all these things. Others have followed, they have not followed. There is a proper rule, Rule 7 of the guideline, which says if you don't comply with the guideline, then the consequence is under Section 79, you may lose your intermediary status. Indian companies go to do IT business in America or other countries. Do they follow the laws of America or other countries or not? When Indian pharma companies go to manufacture medicine in America, do they follow American laws or not? If you have to do business in India, you are welcome to criticize the Prime Minister, all of us, we welcome that. But you will have to obey the Constitution of India and you will have to obey the rules of India.
That was IT Minister Ravi Shankar Prasad telling that Twitter has to comply with the guidelines to operate within the territory of India. That's it in Business Prime. Mark, back to you.
Thanks very much, Tanvi. And now let's take a look at what's happening across the globe. Well, the US President Joe Biden and the Russian President Vladimir Putin held their first meeting since Biden took office. Biden described the meeting as positive and good. He said that his agenda is for the American people, not against Russia or anyone else. Well, Putin also said that this meeting was good. He called it very constructive. And, well, the two countries have begun consultations on cybersecurity issues. They've also sent their respective ambassadors back to their posts. The first summit meeting between US President Joe Biden and his Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin, held in serene settings of Geneva, was described by both parties as good and positive, but showed clear signs of stated disagreements and differences. The two leaders remained profoundly divided on issues ranging from cyber attacks to human rights.
It was important to meet in person, so there can be no mistake about or misrepresentations about what I wanted to communicate. I did what I came to do. Number one, identify areas of practical work our two countries can do to advance our mutual interest and also benefit the world. Two, communicate directly, that the United States will respond to actions that impair our vital interest or those of our allies. And three, to clearly lay out our country's priorities and our values, so we heard it straight from me.
During the first such meeting since 2018, the two sides agreed to begin a dialogue on nuclear arms control. They also said they would return ambassadors to each other's capitals. The envoys were mutually withdrawn for consultations in March after the US accused Russia of meddling in the 2020 presidential election. The disagreements, however, persisted.
When I talked about the pipeline that cyber hit for $5 million, that ransomware hit in the United States, I looked at him and I said, well, how would you feel if ransomware took on the pipelines from your oil fields? He said it would matter. This is not about just our self-interest.
Also, there was no hiding their differences on issues such as human rights, where Biden said the consequences for Russia would be devastating if jailed Kremlin critic Alexei Navalny died in a Russian prison.
I made it clear to him that I believe the consequences of that would be devastating for Russia. I'll go back to the same point. What do you think happens when he's saying it's not about hurting Navalny, all the stuff he says to rationalize the treatment of Navalny, and then he dies in prison? I pointed out to him that it matters a great deal when a country, in fact, and they asked me why I thought it was important to continue to have problems with the president of Syria. I said because there's a violation of international norm. It's called the Chemical Weapons Treaty. It can't be trusted. It's about trust. It's about their ability to influence other nations in a positive way. I don't have any problem with doing business with Russia as long as they do it based upon international norms.
President Putin said he saw a glimpse of hope for mutual trust with the United States after meeting Biden, but added that Washington's moves to exit arms treaties showed its unpredictability.
We act in line with existing threats, and I think for the situation of real stability, we should agree on rules of behavior with the West in all those fields we were mentioning. They are strategic stability, cyber security, resolving issues with regional conflicts. I think we are able to come to agreement on all of them. That is my impression after meeting with President Biden.
Putin also said the two sides agreed in principle to begin consultations on cybersecurity issues, though he denied US allegations that Russia was responsible for a spate of recent high-profile hacks against business and government agencies in the United States and around the globe. Bureau Report, DD India. Well, Amritpal Singh now joins us with an input on this story. Well, Amrit, the key word there is trust. So, I mean, what's your reading of the state of the deficit?
Well, the deficit surely exists. I would say the summit was basically shaped by a lot of differences. The disputes remained, though both leaders tried to be, to politely put it as good, constructive, positive, etc. But the very fact that they could not hold a joint press conference together, the very fact that in their solo press conferences, the accusations remained, they continued to level accusations against each other, and also very tentatively express the desire to better the relations or improve the relations, speaks a lot about what transpired at the meeting, which was expected to last longer than it actually did.
Yes.
So I think one would say that yes, they've met and tried to arrest the free fall in the relationship, the worst since the Cold War. But to say that they've gone the whole hog would be incorrect. It would, I think, suffice to say that the two sides tentatively expressed their desire to move forward, depending upon closely watching how the other side moves, and whatever they said, they qualified that by riders.
Thanks very much, Amrit. We'll leave it there. Moving on then, let's take a look at the updates from about COVID-19 from across the world. So this virus, it's infected 17.78 crore people across the world. This is pretty high. And the number of recoveries too has been high. 16.23 crore people have recovered. So far, the number of lives lost, 38.49 lakh lives lost globally. The US is the worst hit country overall from COVID-19. Cases are 3.43 crores. It's crossed that number. And the country has also crossed the grim milestone of 6 lakh fatalities. The number now stands at 6,16,000. Time for news from the world of sports. And let's listen to what Ashok has to bring us with the world of sports. Over to you, Ashok.
Thank you, Mark. India and New Zealand gear up for each other after the final of World Test Championship. The inaugural ICC World Test Championship final will be played in Southampton from June 18 to 22. In the head-to-head fight between the two sides, Kiwis have won just 12 out of 59 tests between the two teams, while India have been victorious in 21. Here are 4 players' battles to watch out for the World Test Championship final between India and New Zealand.
Kane Williamson versus Jasprit Bumrah. If India wants to win the inaugural World Test Championship final, Jasprit Bumrah needs to come great no matter what. Jasprit Bumrah has been in and out of India's test side as of late for different reasons. Subsequent to missing the test series against England on home soil, Bumrah would plan to make a solid rebound in whites as India gear up to confront New Zealand. He didn't have the best of outings against Australia. Nonetheless, he can in any case cause inconvenience to anybody on a given day thinking about his sheer spread. Kane Williamson is presently the top-ranked batsman in the ICC men's test rankings, while Jasprit Bumrah is the highest-ranked Indian pacer. Kane Williamson is the highest run scorer for New Zealand with 817 runs across 14 innings. Jasprit Bumrah's matchup against Kane Williamson and Ross Taylor will be vital to India's odds. Ashwin versus Tom Latham. Veteran off-spinner Ravichandran Ashwin is, as of now, the second-ranked bowler in ICC Test rankings. He caused serious trouble to the Australian batsman with his bowling abilities prior to doing likewise with the England batting lineup in the home Test series recently. He is likewise the third highest wicket taker in World Test Championship with 67 wickets. Ashwin has been India's lead spinner in the last 2 series against Australia and England in Jadeja's non-attendance, and has improved batting abilities have likewise reinforced his case. Meanwhile, New Zealand's vice-captain Tom Latham has been a joy to watch in the course of recent years. He's right now the 12th ranked player in the ICC Test rankings for the batsman. It will be fascinating to perceive how Latham will handle Ashwin in the forthcoming World Test Championship finale. Rohit Sharma versus Trent Bolt. Veteran opening batsman Rohit Sharma is the second highest run scorer for India and 6th overall in the World Test Championship with 1,030 runs. He has slammed 4 centuries and 2 half-centuries. The 33-year-old has a double done to his name. Not only that, he's been India's main source of runs at the top of the order. Left-arm pacer Trent Bolt, on the other hand, is the third highest wicket taker for the Black Caps in the World Test Championship with 34 wickets in 9 games. He will once again have the baton in his hands to scalp important wickets at the top, including one of his Mumbai Indians skipper and teammate Rohit Sharma. Virat Kohli versus Tim Southee. Tim has been an arch nemesis of Virat Kohli, having dismissed him 10 times, which more than any other bowler in the circuit. He dismissed the Indian skipper twice during their 2-0 home win over the India team last year. Tim is the leading wicket taker for the Black Caps in the World Test Championships with 51 scalps, including 5 fifers. Kohli, meanwhile, has not scored a century in any format for more than 18 months. Though the condition won't be appropriate to bat long in Southampton, Kohli does hold a decent record at the Rose Bowl. So the question is, can Kohli get the better of Tim and company this time out? Sports Desk, DD India.
In what's good news for DD Free Dish users, now ICC World Test Championship will air on DD Sports 1.0 on DD Free Dish GTS. DD Free Dish users can also listen to the live radio cricket commentary by All India Radio across the country. Apart from the broadcast of the final match on DD Sports, All India Radio cricket commentary will be available on DD Free Dish GTS satellite radio. In addition to Free Dish GTS radio channels, the radio cricket commentary will be available on All India Radio's FM Rainbow channels, FM local radio stations, digital radio transmitters and additional FM transmitters. Let's take a look on matches lineup for the Euros today. In Group B League, topper Belgium will face Denmark, who is at the last place in the group, while in Group C, Ukraine will be up against North Macedonia and Netherlands will be up against Austria. So that's all in Sports Prime. Back to Mark. Namaskar.
Thanks very much, Ashok. Well, let's tune into today's Yoga Mantra.
O Arjun, those who eat too much or too little, sleep too much or too little, cannot attain success in yoga.
And that's all we could pack into Midday Prime today. Thanks very much for your time and company. But always remember, we might have the numbers down, but it's always safer to keep your mask on to prevent the spread or the resurgence of this virus and prevent a possibility of another wave of this virus. So let's keep ourselves safe and all those around us safe. Just wear a mask. It's a simple task. Thanks for watching. Namaskar.